right, now our fourth teller for tonight is Irene Michaels, who has a story about transformation. So please welcome Irene.
Hello, everyone. When I was a little girl, I was very adventurous, ambitious, mischievous, always playing make-believe. And when I was about 9 or 10 years old, I went to a dance class with my little neighbor who had asked me to go with her many, many times. I finally went. My mother took me. And I was watching her take these lessons, and I was so fascinated. I thought from that moment, I wanted to be a dancer. I didn't care if I was a good dancer or a bad dancer. I just wanted a pair of those tap shoes. They were fabulous. They were black, satin, shiny, with big black bows. And that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a dancer with those tap shoes on. So I told my mother, please, I want to take lessons, and that's what I want to do. So my mom said, of course. So we went to class the next week, and I enrolled, and I started dancing. And I took tap lessons and ballet lessons and jazz lessons. And the woman who owned the agency, her name was Clara Powell. And as I was working and studying, she had told my mother that she thought I could be a very good dancer and that she would like me to be her protege. And of course, that was wonderful to hear because at that time we came from very humble beginnings and dance classes were very expensive. So mother was happy, I was happy, Clara was happy, and I studied with her for many years. And actually, I achieved my goal. I became a very good dancer. I danced on legitimate theaters all over the US, off Broadway, on Broadway, and I was very successful. As I was working as a dancer, there was somebody in the audience that had asked the producer if he could have a meeting with me. And of course, he said yes. So the producer and I did meet, and he had asked me if I would like to audition for a very popular daytime soap opera. And I said, oh, no, not interested. Of course, I jumped on a plane the next day. And the soap opera was General Hospital. So I flew to LA, I got the part, and I started working in General Hospital. While I was working on that TV soap opera, I started studying acting more seriously. And of course, I got into music and started playing the guitar and start learning songs. So I was very, very interested in the performing arts and honing in on my craft. As I was at the height of my career was in full bloom. I had a horrific thing happen to me. The rug was pulled out from underneath me. I was in a very serious car accident. While I was in Chicago, I went home to visit my parents for Christmas. And as we all know, Chicago has some very snowy winters. And the driver in the car lost control of the car and smashed into another car. And I ended up underneath the car in front of us. I went through the windshield with all the jagged edges of glass. And the next thing I remembered was laying in an ambulance and hearing the doctor say, let's hurry and get her to the hospital. We want to try and save her eyesight. And so I went to the hospital. They did surgery. I woke up a few days later in my hospital room. And when I heard and listened to the extent of my injuries, I was devastated. I had sustained over 2,000 stitches in my face. I had an orbit blowout fracture. I had multiple fractures in the left side of my body. And I was frightened to look in the mirror. Matter of fact, I would take the mirror and look at each part of my face one day at a time. First, I held the mirror up and I looked at my chin. And then the next day I looked a little hired. I looked at my nose and my lips. And finally, by the last day, I was able to look at myself in the mirror. I was freaked out. I was so disfigured. I thought, how am I ever going to cope with this? Emotionally, physically, financially. This is how I earned my living. I just didn't know how I was ever going to survive. I dug really deep. I talked to my mother every day. She helped me through this. I believed in my faith, and I knew that I would be able to survive. When I got home from the hospital, I started my quest to look for doctors who would repair my face. I went to more than a dozen doctors, and all of them said, "I'm sorry, Irene, we're not going to operate. It's too risky, and you will not be happy with the results." And that was a big pill to swallow. But I didn't give up. I kept searching for a doctor that would help me, and I found one, Dr. Orntrack. He resides and practices in New York. So I flew to New York to meet him. And he said he could help me. And I said, "Oh, that's wonderful." I said, "That would be so great. How are you going to do this?" And he said it would be a long, tedious procedure and a long recovery. And I said, "Well, doctor, how long is long?" And he said, 10 to 15 years. I said, "You mean 10 to 15 weeks?" And he said, "No, 10 to 15 years. What was I going to do? We all know that the longest road starts with the first step. So that's what I did. Every single month for 15 years or more, I went to the doctor in New York, and slowly he started to repair my face to the point where I started modeling and acting again. I was happy again. I was confident again. I even wrote a book on beauty. The book is called Eye on Beauty, Living Beautifully and Luxurious Beyond 50. Yes, I'm the author of a beauty book. It's unbelievable to me. A couple of years ago, I got married to a wonderful man, and I dedicated my book to my mother as well. I'm very happy. So I have a message for everyone. And tomorrow's my 76th birthday. Don't want to forget that. Here is my message to all. I have 3 of them. 1 is never give up, no matter what. 2, it's not what happens to you, but how you handle it. And 3, stay confident, because confidence never goes out of fashion. And that's my story.
Irene, I so admire your perseverance and your resiliency, and I can only imagine what you've been through. So thank you so much for sharing your story, and I'm so glad to hear how you've found success and love since then. So thanks again, and also happy early birthday.
Thank you very much.